Now that we have nice labels on some of our model entities, we're ready to add dimensions. Let's start with adding some linear dimensions. Select the Linear Dimension tool, or the D keyboard shortcut, and measure from the top to the bottom of our kitchen island, which should be 3.5 feet tall. Now select the dimension and notice the little 90-degree squares displayed near the endpoints of the dimension lines. That confirms that our view and dimension are both set to orthographic mode and that the height is correct. If we try to dimension a model that isn't a true orthographic, like anything other than a plan or elevation, then we may run into the problem of inaccurate dimensions as we're introducing an additional plane that the dimension string can align with. Let's look at an example. If we change the model from ortho by deselecting the ortho button, then we can see that our dimension string is switched to an angle from the edge of the floor in the foreground to the edge of the island counter beyond, which changes our dimension number to something much larger, as now it's dimensioning both up and back at an angle. This time we see the circles at the bottom of the dimension lines instead of the squares that were there before, that help indicate that we're in perspective versus ortho view. So let's undo that last change to get our view back to ortho, and now we have our correct dimension height back. Let's place a few more dimensions. Starting with the wall on the left, let's say we want to dimension all of the objects along the bottom of our view between the left wall and the right wall. We can save some time by double-clicking on the second dimension point after setting our first, which automatically lines up the next dimension with the previous. Then repeating is necessary until all of our objects along this view have dimensions. Let's add another dimension, this time from the top of the table to the ground. If for some reason we find ourselves needing more flexibility as to where to place our dimension, other than parallel or perpendicular to what we're measuring, just hold the Alt or Option key, and now we're no longer constrained to an axis. Moving back to the Dimension Style window, let's look at some of the options we have to change both the look and functionality of our dimensions. We can change the position of the text, or the rotation, or whether you want to display units or not, which is grayed out currently because we're working in architectural units. And lastly is precision, or dim round-off as it's referred to in CAD. Here we can simplify our measurements by setting the precision value to 1 inch. And if you have an angular dimension, then you can change both the units and precision here as well. Now that we have a good grasp on placing dimensions, let's change the look and feel of them. Select one of the dimensions we just placed and open up the Shapes Style window. You can change the stroke color, thickness, and line type. Let's also change the start and end arrows to architectural ticks. Finally, let's wrap up our dimensions lesson by making a model change that confirms our dimensions are associated to the model and auto-update as well. Jumping back over to the SketchUp model, let's move the kitchen tables and chairs to the left by 1 foot. Then save it, and jump back to Layout, select the elevation view, right-click and choose Update our model reference. And as you can see, our labels and dimensions associated with the table and chairs have updated respectively.